Good afternoon.
Salam, Doktor.
Waalaikumsalam, Doktor.
How are you? I hope everyone here is okay. So today we are going to take the second class of the data communication subject. Previously, in the last week, as I said, I sent a synchronized video to you explaining the chapter 1 or the introduction about our topics. I hope every student watched the video and understand the details. I explained the basic and the requirement of the introduction of this class or data communication subject. Before we start, I'm going to tell you some information related to our class. The first one, you can see the pro forma. It's already approved by our HOD, head of department. You can see the details about our class. As you know, we can follow the most of the pro forma. We hope we can finish the requirements. The second one is related to the assignments. I think maybe at the end of this week, I will upload the first assignment. We have two assignments here. The first one is an individual assignment. And the second one is a group assignment. Of course, we have a midterm test. It will be held as an online test. You can see the marks for each assignment and each test. And of course, we have a final assessment because, you know, we still conduct the learning as a online learning, not face-to-face. So the final assessment will be held as a online, and most probably from 1 week to 2 weeks. You can answer the questions, and most probably it will be implementation questions or the practical questions based on Bucket Racer tool. It's very easy tool. I will send a link to you, then you can use this link to download the tool, because the first, I think the second assignment, the group assignment, you have to use this tool, Bucket Racer, and it's I recommend and I suggest to you, you can watch a tutorial video from YouTube to see the basic requirements for this tool. For the download, I will send, as I told you, I will send a link. You can download directly. It's a free tool if you use my link. Then just watch a couple of videos, then you can understand the requirement for this tool. I can summarize this tool to you. It's a simulation tool to simulate data networking, data communication, the structure of any infrastructure or network infrastructure. It's easy and clear, easy to use and clear to be understood. I hope today I will send you the link, then you can download. And at the end of this week, I will upload the assignment, the first one, the individual assignment. And later we'll discuss about the midterm test and other things, related things. So I hope you don't have any problem and confusion related to the first topic or the introduction of data communication. If you have any question, please don't hesitate. You can ask me, and I am happy to answer you. One more thing, as I told you before, no worries about any marks, any things. Just follow my instructions. Here I'm to help you. No other things. It's easy. Just follow my instructions, and I hope everyone will get a very high mark. So no worries about the marks. We can take topic by topic and understand the details and the requirements. This is the most important. The requirement for tests, for assignments, for other things. So let we start. Before we start, I am going to ask the monitor to take the attendance. Please, can you take the attendance, Sahira?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Your name is Sahira or Sahira?
Sahira.
Sahira. In Arabic, Sahira, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, take the attendance, please. Okay, once you finish, just let me know. I will start after you. Did you finish, Sahira?
Nurin Shamimi.
So did you finish the attendance? Did you take the attendance for all students?
I take the attendance.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, guys, today we have a chapter 2. It's related to the network models. As you know, the first one is related to the introduction. What is the data? Why we need to send the data? And what is the platform for you that used for sending the data? And the network words came from what? The concept of the networks, of the communication. We talk about the structure of the network, the topology. Also, we talk about the evaluation criteria of each network itself. Okay, why we need to evaluate network? What's the difference between two different, or what is the difference between the network types? We talk about the LAN, WAN, which one related to which task, what's the important for each, why we need to use The first one, for example, LAN, because this can use for the short distance. Why we need to use one, and what is the components of each one. Also, we talked about the platform for each and other related things related to the introduction and basic information for the data communication. So I guess each student now what is the data must know what is the data and how we can send the data and why we need to send. So we talk about also we talk about the internet. So we can summarize the internet as a network of networks. So we have different local networks. Those different local networks, if we can connect those different local networks to the router or hub, then the router going to be communicate between the local network and the overseas environment or even the city environment to be created the one, then one be connected with others, to be connected with the ISP. ISP is an internet service provider. Then in this case, we got a network and we got internet. So the internet, it's about network of networks. Each user can connect with others over this network. Now we are going to talk about the network models. Okay, what is the models of network? Why we need it? Here we must to understand the models. But before that, you have to know the concept of layers. It exists in our life. Everything should be organized. Everything should be organized to different tasks. Then we can connect those layers. We can connect those tasks to be achieve some specific goal or aim. So here we have example about that we consider two friends going to be communicating through a postal mail. So the process of sending letter from one to another is a layers should be created or should be conducted based on layers. You know, first of all, you need to differentiate between the sender and receiver. Then the sender going to write a letter. Then he is going to send by a courier. Then courier take it and send to the destination, and the destination should be reached to the receiver to be sent to the mailbox of the receiver. Then the receiver can take it. So this is layer. Let's say this is layer. Those are layers to communicate between sender and receiver. And this is complex. If you want to do it in one step, it's quite complex. So we need to organize our communication. We need to organize everything in our life. Here we call it layers. Here you can see, this is the example. We have a sender and we have a receiver. Here we organize based on three main layers. The higher layers, it's related and communicated with the users, whatever, if he or she sender or receiver. Then the middle layers, then the lower layers. Okay, if you see the higher layer, the letter is written by the sender, put in the envelope, and then drop in the mailbox. This is the first layer. This is an example. We say it like this. Okay, then the letter is going to be carried from the mailbox to a post office. This is the second layer from the sender side. The last layer is the letter is delivered to a courier by the post office. Here the last and lower layer. Why the lower layer? Because it's quite far from the sender. Because here the high layer is the most close one to the sender, and he can or she can communicate with this layer. then to the last layer, which is a lower layer. Here in the same process or in the same level, from the receiver side, the first layer, we call it a lower layer in the receiver. Going to the second layer, going to the last and higher layer of the receiver. Then the receiver can take and pick up the message. This is, we call it a layers. So if you want to communicate with anyone, if you want to talk about anything with any person, if you want to study something, if you want to buy, if you want to do anything, you have to organize this thing. Then you can create layers for the task. Then you can or you can achieve task by task or layer by layer. This is to make it quite easy because it's complex if you do it at the same stage. So, if we talk about the Aussie model, what is the Aussie model? It's a standard abbreviation of the International Standards Organization. To do what? It's dedicated to the worldwide agreement on the international standards. It should be noted that the ISO standards cover all aspects of network communication. In the what? In the Aussie, abbreviated of Open System Interconnection. So it found in the late of 1970. So we can summarize the ISO. It's a standard for the network communication to be used in the open system interconnection, which is Aussie model. So this is international standard for the networking, because we said before we need to do, or we need to follow standards, we need to follow layers, we need to do the task step by step. So who is the responsible for such a process? The organization of ISO. So those organizations can be used or can relate, or let's say it's related and relevant to the open system interconnection model of our use. Okay. So ISO. One moment. Sarani بالكلاس. أنا سارعني بالكلاس. يلا ماشي باي. So ISO is an organization, while Aussie is a model. What's the difference? The higher hierarchy is an organization to issue some rules, to issue instructions, which is a model. So it's a couple of or a group of instructions to be created a Aussie layer or Aussie model. So it's easy. If I ask you what's the ISO, you can say it's an international organization to perform and conduct instructions and rule. And then what is the Aussie? It's a model for the communication. Okay. Here, the layers of the Aussie model. Okay, keep in mind, this model are used in the networking. So we have 7 layers. The first one, we can start it from the lower one. So the first one is a physical layer, followed by data link layer, followed by network layer, followed by transport layer, then session layer, presentation layer, and the last one is application layer. The most close one to the computer device is an application. So let's say the last layer, the seventh one, is responsible, let's say, it's in touch with the computer device. And the last one is related to the physical devices and other related things for the networking. This is important to be now. We have 7 layers of the Aussie model that use in the networking. Starting from physical layer, ending with the application layer. Okay. Here, it's an example and the framework to understand the interconnection between layers based on Aussie model. Let's say, suppose that we have 2 devices need to be connected or communicated over the network. The first one is device A, and the second one, let's say the receiver is a device B. Okay. I think you have to know what's the node. It's, let's say, it's any intermediate node to connect those devices. Okay, so we have 7 layers. You see, the application layer is most close one to the computer. Then presentation layer, then session layer. Okay, you can see peer-to-peer protocol, peer-to-peer protocol, any connection between those layers. We call it peer-to-peer protocol. Peer-to-peer protocol, but it's a 6th layer, the 5th layer, 4th layer, and so on. Here, the data flow from the device, application, presentation, session, go to the physical, then from the physical, we have physical communication, let's say cable, wireless, any type of the connection or medium, then going to the receiver, and the receiver take the data, sent to the device through all same layers. But the data through or the data flow here from physical going to application, while the sender, the data flow here from the application going to physical layer. So it's easy, isn't it? Okay. And here we have the exchange form using the Aussie. Here you can see the transmission medium between those 2 devices. This is, we call it exchange form. Here we call it interconnection form. The exchange form, you can see the type and structure of data. Here we have header, 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 header. Then the last layer, you can see the bits, because you know the machine language based on binary language. We have bits 0, 1, especially for the networking. So the data going to be converted from natural language to the machine language, then sent to the transmission medium, then transmission medium take the bits, then going to be converted in the opposite side to the natural language, let's say, then it can be shown on the screen. Okay, so here we are going to describe each layer and each related task from the physical layer going to the application layer. Here you can see the physical layer is responsible for sending the language or the machine language or the bits, binary language, over the transmission medium. So it's responsible for communicating with the transmission medium between the sender and receiver. And it's responsible to receive the data from link layer, the layer before, then send to the transmission, then transmission send the data, or it's a platform or medium to receive data and send it to the destination, and the destination can take it the same, you can see here, same, and send to the next layer here on the opposite side, which is a link layer. Okay. So it should be noted that the physical layer is responsible for movement of individual bits from one hop, which is a node, because in the first chapter we said each device, each component of the network, we call it a node. So it's responsible for movement from any individual bits from one hop to the next. Maybe the questions here based on multiple choice questions, then you can answer the questions. For example, the physical layer is responsible for, then the question here you have to use, or you have to choose the same meaning. Okay, what about the data link layer? You need to know the sequences of each layer. So if I ask you about the data link layer, you can say it's responsible to take the information from the before layer, which is a network layer, sending to the next layer, which is a physical layer. And you can see here the structure of data over the network layer contains a header, data, and to create a frame. Sorry. So here the data structure in the data link layer is a frame. This is very important. This is the structure of data. We call it a frame. Okay. While here you can see here it's a bits. Data link layer is a frame. Okay, so the data link layer is responsible for moving frames from one hop to the next. Frame. Okay. You can see here, this is another example of the movement or the data movement from one layer to the next layer, especially for data link and physical layer. You can see here, we have 3 N systems, A, D, and F. Okay, so let's say we can create a networking for those 3 devices, and we are going to understand the data movement based on those described 2 layers of data link layer, and the last one is a physical layer. We said before, this is hop-to-hop delivery, hop-to-hop connection, let's say. Here, from this to this, hop-to-hop delivery, from the router or intermediate system to the end system, hop-to-hop delivery. So the data flow is going to send and receive from hop to another, from node to another. Hop or node. Okay, so the data flow from A to B, from A device to B system. Here you can see data link. Don't forget, data link structure here is a frame, while in the physical is a bits. Here going to send to the B send the same process to the next system, then reaching to the destination. Okay, so this is, we call it hop-to-hop delivery, based on 3 end system examples and 3 intermediate systems. Okay, so guys, we reached to the network layer. So we will continue, inshallah, next week. But before that, let's if you have any questions related to the description, you can ask me. So we will continue next week, inshallah. We will continue from slide 15 because we have enough time. Any confused guys? If you have any question, any confusion, please let me know.
Doctor,
Yeah.
what does intermediate mode means?
Okay. You talk about this, right? Where is it?
It's, yeah, Doctor.
Here, this is the basic description for any network topology, because maybe here we have a router, maybe here we have a switch. So any gateway device to receive and send the data from one end system to another. Okay, so this is the medium link, for example, cable or wireless communication. While here, it's a system, for example, a router, switch to send and receive the data. This is the basic. So here, still not yet, we cannot name it as a router or hub or switch. It's an intermediate system to receive and send the data communication from system or end system to another. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, most welcome. Also, I'm going to send more, if you want, I can send to you more description about the very details related to the layers, related to the some specific task for each layer. Let's say the description for each one. It's like extra explanation and for your information only. So before ending, if you have any question, okay, I'm happy to answer you now. Okay, so that's all, guys, and see you next week, inshallah.
Okay, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh.
Thank you, Doctor.